The goal of life in the East, we call this mukti, nirvana, moksha. Only because we have eyes, we are making instruments which will extend our eyes. We created energetic forms which would make us look very, very far. There is no concept of God in the East. My Devi, which means my goddess, bleeds mathematics. Because today, modern science, the methodology is to come up with a concept, make a theory, build a mathematical backbone, and then look for elements of proof which could confirm those things. I believe that's a methodology. In the yogic principle, the universe was like this. This is usually represented as an arborist, a snake, a cobra running into each other, mouth and tail included, and a hood rising here. So, this is not the European arborist, I know, they make it a circle. But this is how it was. So we call this Anant, that means it's infinite. This infinite or infinity was like this. Your mathematics don't work. You do plus, minus, multiply, divide, nothing. Then it unfolded and became like this. Then we call this shunya. Shunya means emptiness. It became empty. What was infinite became empty. This is very important to understand this. What was that which is infinite? Was it not empty? We could not even call it empty or full at that time, because it's infinite. There's no plus minus to it, no multiplication and division to it. So it was this way, it uncoiled itself to become nothing. Nothing means we must put a hyphen between no and thing. We call this shunya or kala. The word kala means empty, the word kala means darkness, the word kala means time, the word kala means space. So once it became kala like this, you can see it as emptiness, you can see it as time, you can see it as space, you can see it as the first manifestation of that which doesn't have a form. Anything that doesn't have a form is also called kala. So, this aspect, once it became nothingness, but it was a firmament of tremendous existence, but without physical form. Then we go into a more, a dialectical way of expressing this, where we say we're calling this kala as a being, a large, formless, not large, infinite, formless being. Infinite cannot have a form, of course, so it's a being. And he breathes. He was inhaling is a long process, maybe running into millions or billions of years, there are calculations for that, I'm not the mathematician for that. And when he exhaled, it's not that he has nostrils, he exhales from everywhere. Like that, when he breathed, that created a certain amount of energy, that we call as Shakti. Shakti came out of him. When energy came out of him, then this firmament of nothingness, which is a powerful force, it started reverberating initially, then caused ripples, those ripples led to cyclical movements. So with these cyclical movements, the first physical forms came out and it all over burst forth. Fundamentally, we see physicality as a consequence of cyclical movement. Our very birth is because of the cyclical movements in our mother's bodies, otherwise we wouldn't be born. We want to break these cycles. So any cycle naturally has a centripetal force and a centrifugal force. If you get caught up in the centripetal, you get crushed. If you ride the centrifugal, then you're released, a tangent is formed. So, to attain to this tangent is the goal of life in the East. We call this mukti, nirvana, moksha, whatever. Essentially, we want to ride the physical cycles in such a way we are liberated from the physical cycles. How did people see these things? How did people come up with these things? This is always a question. So I'm saying only because we have eyes, we are making instruments which will extend our eyes. So, this extension was done in so many different ways. One of the things that we did was that we created energetic forms which would make us look very, very far. Today, unfortunately, it is all being misunderstood and misrepresented, but there were instruments with which we could look very far, we could open windows into the cosmos. These we called as our deities. These are not gods, there is no concept of God in the East. There were no ancient telescopes. Yes, they saw things by creating energetic forms. You have definitely heard of Ramanujam. So when people asked him, some 3,900 mathematical formulations he came out with, which is still being debated and discussed and people are trying to understand what he wrote. When people asked him, he was dying of tuberculosis. He sat on his deathbed and simply poured out mathematics. When people asked him, how does this come? He said, my Devi, which means my goddess, bleeds mathematics. न जानति भव जननम् कालो न जानति भव समापनम् दृष्टो मया तव महाकारः योगेश्वर काल योगेश्वर काल. It's a chant talking about how cycles of time can either crush us or trap us, or if we ride them, it can liberate us. Only one who is risen above the duality of one's existence, only one who is in yoga, which means one who has known the union of one's existence with everything else, only he will rise above the time. And only one who rises above the time has mastery over life.
While on his deathbed in 1920, Ramanujan wrote a letter to his mentor, English mathematician G.H. Hardy, outlining several new mathematical functions never before heard of. In his own words, "While asleep, I had an unusual experience. There was a red screen, form of flowing blood. As it were, I was observing it. Suddenly a hand began to write on the screen. I became all attention. That hand wrote a number of elliptical integrals. They stuck to my mind. As soon as I woke up, I committed them to writing. In the last 90 years, nobody understood what his theorem was, but they knew it was something tremendous. Only in 2010 did they found out that this theorem describes various behaviors of black holes. 90 years ago, no one was talking about black holes. The term did not even exist, but Ramanujan made a mathematical impression for it, sitting on his deathbed, and he said, "My Devi gave it to me." When Ramanujan says Devi gave it to me, for him, Devi is a doorway. Thank you for watching the full video. Do support us by like, share and subscribe, and also do comment down in the comment box. Thank you.